Hi guys, it's me, Miss Humphrey, and I'm ready to teach you a math lesson. So the structure of my lesson is going to be really similar to how we do it in class. First, I'm going to start with some vocabulary. Then I'm going to show you how I would do a math problem with that vocabulary. Then I'm going to give you a chance to pause the video and try a problem on your own. Then you'll press play and see how I did the problem and compare. Lastly, I'll attach a problem for you to try all on your own. Pardon me, for you to try all on your own. I would like you to go in the comments on Google Classroom and give yourself a rating 1 through 4 each lesson. 1 being you had no idea what I was talking about. 2 being you think you kind of got it, but you don't feel that sure. 3 being you feel pretty solid, you feel pretty good. And 4 being you think you could be making a video teaching it to the rest of the class. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to build off the last lesson that we had in class where we started talking about shapes. So today I'm going to review a vocab word that we talked about when we last left each other, which is angles. So an angle is 2 rays, and I drew a picture of what a ray is. Remember, that was also one of our words where it has a point on one side and then an arrow on the other. So it's either 2 rays or line segments. Again, I drew that. It has a point and a point. It's just a part of our line. 2 rays or line segments with a shared endpoint, and we call that shared endpoint a vertex. So within this one definition, there are so many vocabulary words for us to be reminded of, and we're going to need all of them for our lesson today. So today we're going to be talking about specific types of angles. We're going to be classifying angles, which means putting them into groups based on similarities. So the first classification that we are going to learn today is called a right angle. If you're at home, I want you to say that out loud, right angle. And a right angle looks like this. I want you to pause for a moment and ask yourself, what do you notice about the angle that I have drawn? We see right angles all over in our life. I want you to think of one place in your life where you see a right angle. I see one right now. The corner right here of my whiteboard is a right angle. So a right angle makes a perfect square in the corner. Next, I want you to say straight angle. Say it at home. A straight angle looks like this. It's a perfectly flat, straight line. And technically, yes, that is an angle because it is 2 rays. Here's one, here's another, and they have a shared vertex. The next one is an acute angle. An acute angle is an angle that's smaller than a right angle. I remember that that's an acute angle because it's little, it's so cute. Say acute at home, acute, acute. So that is any angle that's going to be smaller than this perfect square, the right angle. I'm going to make this a little bit better. And then the last word we're learning today is an obtuse angle. An obtuse angle is an angle that's bigger than a right angle. So before I even draw it, I want you to think in your head, what do you imagine an obtuse angle looking like? If I just told you it's bigger than a right angle, but I will tell you it's smaller than a straight angle. So if it's going to be somewhere in between here and here, what are you picturing in your head? Now I'm going to draw it and see if that matches. So we notice it's a little bit bigger than that, but it's not totally straight. Now, not all obtuse angles are going to be exactly like this, and not all acute angles are going to be exactly like that. We can draw multiple examples of acute angles. We can draw them even littler. We can draw them a little bit bigger, but not all the way to 90 degrees or to that perfect square. And for the obtuse angles, we can draw them almost straight, but not exactly. There are going to be multiple examples. Anything that is bigger than this square is obtuse, and anything smaller than this square is acute. Okay? So we're going to try practicing this within the context of a problem. So let me pull that up for you guys. This is the problem I'm going to do on my own. I'm going to open up the math book since I'm lucky enough to have it here with me. And this is the problem that I want you to watch me do. You're going to be asked to do the same thing on the next problem, so please watch closely. And think about the questions I'm asking myself to solve these problems. The first question in our math book asks me to name a ray. Okay, so I'm going to think back or look back on the vocab sheet that I let you guys take home. A ray is a part of the line that has an endpoint and then continues in one direction. So one example of a ray that I see here, I'm going to pick an endpoint. I see an endpoint right here, B. You could pick R or B. These are both endpoints. And from B to C, I have an endpoint with an arrow on the end. So I'm going to call that ray BC. And remember, this is review. I write this like this. I write BC with a line and a little arrow on the end. So I've identified a ray. Okay. The next thing I want to identify, it says name a line. So I'm going to look back on my vocab sheet, which you guys have. A line is a straight path of a point that continues without end in both directions. So there's going to be an arrow in both directions. Notice the ray has a dot on one side and the arrow on the other. So I'm going to look for a line. Well, I see an arrow here and an arrow here. So I'm going to call mine line AC. And I know it's a line because I drew arrows on both sides. AC. And that's different from BC because B starts with a point. That's a ray. That's a line. The next question asks me to name a right angle. So I'm looking for an angle in here that is at a perfect corner. It's got a square in its corner. And I see an angle that looks like that. Angle PRC. So I'm going to say for right angle PRC. Right angle PRC. The next question asks me to find an obtuse angle. So I remember, I just learned this, obtuse. Okay, that's the one that's bigger than this angle. So if we look over here, which one looks bigger than a perfect square? If you're struggling to figure this out, you can pull out a blank piece of paper, and I'm going to do just that. And you can use the corner of your paper to check your angles. So when I put this corner here, do you see that it fits perfectly? That's because it's a right angle. If I come over here to this one, I'm looking at this angle on this side, and it's littler than my paper. So that's not obtuse. That means that's acute. But if I take the same one and put it over here, ooh, that's bigger than my paper. So that one must be obtuse. So the obtuse angle is going to be, ABK. So I'm going to put obtuse angle ABK. Sorry, a lot going on here. Then the next question says, find a line segment. So I remember a line segment, if I look back on my vocab sheet, is a part of a line that's between two endpoints. Well, I identified two endpoints already, B and R. So I'm going to put this one up here, B, R. And I put two dots on either side because that is a line segment. And then the last question asked me to find an acute angle. I used this little piece of paper to help me find the obtuse. I'm going to do the same with the acute. This is a perfect right angle because it fits right there. Ooh, I come over here and what do I find? This one's smaller than the angle of my paper. So that means that it's acute. So my acute angle is KBR. KBR. So I'm going to write acute. Oops. KBR. All right, so I've identified a line segment, a ray, a line, a right angle, an obtuse angle, and an acute angle. So I'm about to give you guys a problem, and I want you to do the same exact thing. When I put the problem on the board and give you the directions, I want you then to pause the video, try it on your own, and then come back, press play, and I will show you what I did, and you can check if you were correct. Okay, let me pull up my other problem. This is what yours looks like. I'm going to switch my pen color. And remember, I want you to find a line, segment, a ray, a right angle, an obtuse angle, and an acute angle. As you're finding these, remember you're going to be giving yourself a rating on Google Classroom of how you're feeling about these vocab words. Make sure you leave a comment if one of them is really confusing you and I can do an updated lesson. But at this time, I want you to pause the video and try this on your own. I hope that you actually paused it and now are pressing play and are going to watch me do it. So first I'm looking for a line. I remember what Ms. Humphrey did was she went and looked at her vocab sheet and saw that a line goes on in both directions. So I'm looking for arrows in both directions. I can choose any of these lines. I see 3 lines. Do you guys? I see a line here, I see a line here, and I see a line here. I'm going to choose this one. Is it okay if you chose another one? Yes, it's okay if you chose this one. It's okay if you chose that one as long as there were 2 arrows. So I'm going to choose this one, which is line EF. I'm going to write EF, and then I'm going to put arrows on both sides in my little symbol above it to symbolize that that is a line. Next, I'm going to find a line segment. So I'm looking for a point on one side and an arrow on the other side. Again, there are multiple options. You can go from G to A, G to D, G to C, B to E, B to H, B to F. If you chose any of those, that's fine. I'm going to choose G to D, just because. And I didn't leave myself enough room, but I'm going to write G, D, and I'm going to put a dot with an arrow. And then the last one that I want to find is a ray. Oh, you know what? I messed up. A line segment is dot to dot. Okay, good thing I looked back. So I'm going to fix that. Line segment is dot to dot. I'm going to choose from G to B. Sorry if I just confused you guys. From dot to dot, G to B, because a line segment is dot to dot. Oops. And then the last one is a ray, which is dot to arrow. So I can choose GD for that one. So for ray, I'm going to put GD dot to arrow. Thanks for sticking with me. Okay, now I'm looking for a right angle, and there might be more than one. I'm going to look for my piece of white paper. And I'm looking for one that fits in this corner perfectly. So I'm going to come here. That one doesn't fit so well. But this one does, and so does the one below it, because I see the little square. So I'm going to choose angle EBH as my right angle. So I'm going to write the angle symbol, EBH. Okay, I'm looking for obtuse, so I want it to be bigger than this paper. If I come right here, do you notice that that angle is going out bigger than the corner of my paper? So I'm going to choose that angle, AGC. And then the last one is acute. I'm looking for an angle that's smaller than my paper. And if I put it right here, notice that this angle doesn't show because it's tucked under my paper, which means that it's smaller than my paper. So I'm going to choose this angle, CGH, as my acute angle. All right, I'm going to attach one more problem for you to try all on your own. And I want you to leave questions and comments on Google Classroom, as well as your rating about how you felt about this lesson. I'll be back tomorrow with another one, guys. See you later.